nobody supervises you. You can just go.
Welcome to the Get Unbusy Podcast. I'm your host, Kate Philpott, and this podcast is all about throwing your busy work out the window. You deserve to stay locked in on the parts of your business that light a fire under your hoo-ha, all right? The passion-driven freedom lifestyle, not being glued to your laptop every waking minute of the day. It's time to build a business that works for you, not one that works you into the ground. So, let's get unbusy, shall we?
Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Oh my goodness, I am so excited for this conversation today. There's a big part of my brand that is kind of productivity related, but it's also kind of not. It's more the result of getting this productivity stuff down and what that actually creates for you in your life. And this stuff is juicy. But before we dive into that, I'm giving another life update, and I'm actually giving another running life update. So last time I spoke to you about the fact that I ran 10 kilometers and I was so buzzed. I was like, how the hell did I run 10 kilometers? And yesterday morning, I actually beat that by 2 kilometers. So yeah, I ran 12 kilometers. So for those of you who do miles, 12 kilometers in miles is 7.45 miles. That's a lot. My poor knees. I genuinely did not know what to say when I got back from that run. I did make some mistakes, not gonna lie. I definitely wasn't hydrated enough to be running that far. I didn't have anything with me, like any gels or whatever. I mean, I'm new to this long running stuff. So, by the way, 1 hour and 20 minutes I ran for. That's a long time. I don't even have that kind of commitment to a movie. So the fact that I literally ran that long, I was like, who do I think I am? Quite literally. But yeah, so I made some mistakes. Like my pre-run nutrition was, well, nothing, because I ran first thing in the morning. And the day before, I actually had a beer and a big fuck off frozen yogurt. We went to this Queen tribute in a bar, and it was just like casual bar food. So I wouldn't imagine that fueled me that well. And not getting a long enough cool down after the run, I only walked for probably like 2 minutes, mainly because I ran out of ground to cover. Like I had to keep running around in circles at the end to hit the 12 kilometers. And I did that. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to walk another block just to get a proper cool down. I'm just going to go up to the apartment. So it was only like a 2-minute cool down. And when I got up to the apartment, I just sat on the floor. And then I was like, oh, I'm getting a little woozy. And not sure if you know this about me, but I am a bit of a fainter. I have quite the long history of fainting in my past, so I know exactly what it feels like if I'm about to hit the deck, and it's exactly how I felt. So I lay down and put my legs up on a chair to try and get the blood back to my, vital organs and all that, and I didn't faint, thank goodness. But anyway, really proud of the fact that I ran 12 kilometers. Like, that's not something I ever thought I'd be able to do. So the fact that I just casually went out and did it of a morning before my work day, I was like, cool. And also, it does make me feel pretty confident in my progress towards the half marathon running, which is 21.1 kilometers. So I'm already over halfway there. Let's dive into our juicy conversation for this week. So I want to talk to you about why at least 1 month in Spain per year is a non-negotiable for me in my life. This sounds so unbelievably privileged. So I'm just going to come out and say, very grateful that I can do this. I know that not everybody can do this, and I am lucky in that sense. But at the same time, I am designing it into my life intentionally. But I'm going to tell you why. And actually, I'll preface this by saying it may not always be Spain. In fact, we're actually thinking of going somewhere different next year. Maybe Montenegro, maybe Portugal, maybe France. We'd want to go somewhere warm enough. Maybe somewhere in Greece. But yeah, we want to go somewhere warm enough, but also we want to keep it so that it's not peak holiday season. So it's still like April, May, rather than like June, July, August, So why is this a non-negotiable for me? First of all, I'll just say I am not here to work a 40, 50 hour week. Hell no. I'm not here to just be a workhorse and like look at the beach from my window. Like I am working, and when I'm working, I'm on the balcony looking at the sea, which is pretty cool. But I actually work so much less here than I do at home. So there's actually a few elements to this. I'm here to have those three very crucial freedoms: time freedom, financial freedom, geographical freedom. They tie into pretty much every life decision that I make. Where I want my life to go needs to tie all of those in. So there's a couple of ways that being here allows me to make that happen. So first of all, we'll talk about the time freedom. To be honest, I work less here than I do at home because there's so much else to do. You could also say that the other way. I work more at home because I'm like, well, there's not much to do in my little hometown. And I think actually being here and adding more life stuff into my evenings has kind of changed my perspective on that. So I'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. But something that is just very important to me while I'm here is like, I'm not working more than 5 or 6 hours in a day. Hell no. I'm not doing that, because you essentially get to close up shop for the day, finish your work day, and then you go, and for the rest of the day you're on holidays. Like, that's wild. It doesn't feel like that anywhere else, but it does feel like that when you are a 2-minute walk from the beach and you've got this gorgeous promenade and there's like a salt lake with all these fucking flamingos. Like, what? So that's the time freedom part of it. It's like, obviously, see, I have this thing. I don't want to have to work. I want to feel like I get to work. And I really don't feel like I have to work here, but I work because I love it and I get so much out of that. But even in doing that, it gets to look quite different, which leads me into the geographical freedom part of it. First of all, the fact that I'm even in this country and I get to keep working, that in itself is the geographical freedom I'm after. I don't need to be tied to a location in Ireland to work. Sign me the fuck up. Sign me the fuck up. Now, when we get into the micro, I can work on the balcony. I can work in the kitchen. I can work in the bedroom. That's fine. It doesn't, anywhere in the apartment. But also, I had a 2-hour one-to-one Telegram session with a client on the fucking beach last week. Are you for real? Are you for real? And a lot of the days, actually in the second half here, I've actually been bringing my laptop and all my work stuff down to one of the bar cafes at the seafront to do my work there. This is another thing. That change of environment has made me so much more productive. I went down to that cafe, right? And I had the intention of creating a membership portal for Streamlined Coach, which is my group program, which is, by the way, opening doors for cohort 3 pretty soon, actually. And I wanted to create a whole membership portal from scratch, and that in my calendar was like a 3-hour task. Like, that was probably going to take me about 3 hours. I had to get all of the different pages in there, all of the different whatever. I shit you not. I spent an hour on it with the coffee at the promenade, and it's like 85% done. I'm nearly finished. It was so fast, and I was down there with Patrick, and I said to him, I'm getting a lot done here. Like, this is wild. And then I was like, I'm going to do this every day, because the return on investment of me spending, listen to this, $1.90 on an Americano to triple my productivity is so worth it. That return on investment is something I am absolutely willing to accept. Like, that's wild. Now, speaking of a coffee being $1.90, that leads me very nicely into the next freedom here, which is the financial freedom aspect. Obviously, geo arbitrage is a thing. If I'm working and I'm earning a living that's decent for Irish standards, and I come to another country where it is half the price of anything, coffees, groceries, rent, car, pretty much everything we buy here, it is so cheap. It's so cheap. It's cheap by our standards. Obviously, by Spain standards, they have different minimum wage. It's a different living setup. If you're earning a Spanish living and you're paying Spanish prices, it all kind of evens out. But if you're earning an Irish living and you're paying Spanish prices, you're like, oh my goodness, it is so cheap. It is so easy to live here. It's way cheaper than Ireland to live here. Literally €2 for a coffee. $1.90 for an Americano. I also had a cappuccino today, which is usually up in the threes, so that's high, but today I had one for $2.50 for a cappuccino. You would not get that for less than like $4.50 in Ireland. You just wouldn't. And that makes it very hard to argue with being here. What do you mean I can not only get the value of having a cappuccino for half the price, but I can have that cappuccino at the beach, looking at the sea, with the sun shining on my little white head. What? There's just like, I can't argue with that. Now, what I'll say about this is like, obviously, when you are working here, it is different to going on holiday. You know, this is not the kind of vibe where we come to Spain and we eat out for every single meal and we, you know, get drunk every day. Like, that's not really the vibe, because it's not a holiday. It's just life. But it's life where you get to be out in the sun every day, alternating between the beach and the pool every other day, you know? And there's just something about it that's a lot more magical than Dublin. There's just so much laughter and there's so much good vibes, and you're getting all this great food. There's a port in this town that we're staying in, and, you know, there's all these fish restaurants and paellas and all of the beautiful things like sangria and agua de valenciana. There's just something about how much more joy and fulfillment and happiness it brings you to be in a different place where you're filled up by the sun every single day. And like, obviously I have to be very careful because I am Irish through and through. Like, my skin tone it doesn't even exist. I'm translucent and I'm just a burn machine. So I have to be very careful. But that's not to say that I don't love going out to a little bar and sitting in the shade while I have my coffee. Hello? If my whole philosophy is about adding more to your life, this is that. And that's the core of everything I do. And as with everything, I have learned a couple of things being here this year. One of those things, and I alluded to this earlier, is I have not been pouring enough intention into my evenings at home. I really haven't. And this has become particularly clear to me in the past week because, side note, another thing that we do every time we come here is we get a month membership in the spa. That adds a whole other element to our trips as well. But this time, from the 5th to the 12th of May, it was closed for renovations. So we were like, oh, that's a bit crap. Like, we're only going to get 3 of the 4 weeks. But you know what? We were like, whatever. You know, it's no big deal. We're still going to use it plenty to get more than enough value out of that €115 on the other 3 weeks. So that week where it was closed has been the past week. So the past week we haven't been able to go to the spa. So because we haven't been able to go to the spa and we're coming up to the end of our trip, we've been putting a lot of intention into every single evening. So I'll just give you an example of like what we've done in the past week in the evenings. Tuesday, we went up a mountain for the sunset. Basically, you can drive up this mountain. There's a gorgeous viewpoint and you have to do like a really intense, pretty vertical climb to get to the top. And if you saw my Instagram stories at that time, oh, that view is just incredible. You can see the whole city. Wednesday, we went to our favorite steak restaurant. Now, that steak restaurant is the nicest steak restaurant I think I've ever been to. And then on Thursday, we went down to a nearby town and we went to see a Queen tribute. And that town also has our favorite froyo place. So we got our favorite froyo before we came back. And then yesterday, Friday, we went to the beach because we both really needed to chill after work. And then after the beach, we went for our favorite Indian. This korma is the best korma in the fucking world. I would literally fly to this town to eat this Indian and then fly back. Like, it is that good. So anyway, that's how we spent our Friday, and it was fantastic. Yeah, so like that's multiple evenings where it's just like there's intention in there. So it's not just that you finish up work and then you watch Netflix for the rest of the evening. Like, we've been finishing up work around kind of 3:30, 4, and then the rest of the evening is completely ours to do with whatever we please. And it's been so intentional. And there's been something about that. Something clicked in my mind, particularly on the night of the viewpoint for sunset. It just clicked. I was like, my days have felt so much fuller. They have felt so much fuller while we've been doing all these things. Because it's not just a work day, an hour of TV and dinner, and then you're winding down for bed. It's like your work day and then some kind of activity that makes your day feel more full and more full of life. And then you come home and have dinner and go to bed. You know, like, so it's like 2 days in one. And again, this all comes back to more to life. There gets to be more to life. And yes, it's easy to work these things in when I'm over here, you know, living in Spain for a month. But it did just make me think I could absolutely be pouring more intention into my evenings. And the reason I'm sharing that with you today is because I'd love for you to take that lesson for yourself as well. Yeah, you might be in a small town where there's not much going on, but your time is your time. And you don't have to be somewhere exciting to have some kind of activity going on. Could you go to a dance class? Could you bring yourself to a park? Could you do yourself a little picnic in the evening? Like, there are things that we can do to make every single day so fucking beautiful and make your life feel more full as a result. And most of us just don't, because we're in the habit of day-to-day monotony. So that's been a big lesson this year. Another thing that I've learned is that the most incredible things happen to me in Spain. I don't know if it's like a portal I'm in, or the fact that pretty much every time I come here I buy another crystal. But every single year that I've come here, some kind of next level opportunity has come my way. And I don't think that's a coincidence. Now, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction and manifestation. I don't teach that stuff because what I do teach is like so incredibly logical. So I'm not going to explain this in the best way. But I do think that there's something to the fact that I have been way more in the being and therefore way more in my feminine energy and really tapped into just being in the moment and enjoying every second, that more opportunities have come my way and more money has come my way. That can't be a coincidence. And I think if you listen to the episode that I did with Emily Taylor a few episodes ago, it would make a lot of sense. So yeah, she would explain that better though. So if that's a concept you want to dive deeper into, then definitely go into that episode. I think it was episode 10. And then the last thing is that perspective is everything. So we go away for a month and you kind of think, wow, that's so long. And it is. But something psychological happens. There's a psychological shift once you reach the halfway point. So for that first week and the second week, I was like, oh my God, we have all the time in the world. It's going to feel like we're never even going home. And then we tipped over the 2-week mark. And I was like, oh my God, we're basically almost home. Like, which is so crazy because I still had 2 whole weeks. Most people go away for a week, like 1 week in a year, and that's their holiday, and that's that. And I literally heard somebody in the cafe the other day at the promenade saying, oh yeah, we got here yesterday and we're going home on Saturday. I heard that on Wednesday, so they went Tuesday to Saturday, and that is still a full holiday. Whereas if I'm sitting there on Tuesday and I'm going home on Saturday, I'm like, oh no, I'm going home on Saturday, which if you think about it is so crazy because why? You still have 5 whole days. And then me halfway through this trip, why be upset? You have 2 whole weeks in Spain. It is so strange. So I'm really glad I noticed that because I really felt it. Like I felt an emotional shift too when I noticed that we were over halfway because I was like, oh, we're basically nearly home. we don't have as much time left as we had past. That's something that just felt heavy. And I was like, oh God, so it's basically over. And if it's basically over, then I might as well just start packing, which is fucking bullshit. Like the biggest pile of shite I've ever heard in my life. So I'm glad I noticed that shift in myself, because now I'm like, well, don't I have today? Don't I have tomorrow? Don't I have multiple days after that? Yes, I do. That's what I'm here for. I'm actually not here for the fact that I'm going to be here in a week. I'm here for the fact that I'm here right now. And I think we can apply that to absolutely everything in life. If there's something fantastic about your life right now, don't be sad about the fact that it might not always be that way. Be so fucking grateful and happy that it's that way now. Oh my goodness. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But just taking a step back, and this whole concept of this feels like a must for me is because I remember when I was growing up and I used to look out my back garden. We had this, like, the grass was shaped kind of like a figure of 8, and we had plants and shrubs around the outside, and it was cute, you know, but I would look at those walls, those 3 walls that would block off the house, and I'd be like, this is my prison. That sounds really intense, but I always just felt that there was so much more out there. There's so much more happening right now all around the world that I am missing out on. And that just felt so crap for me. Thinking that right now I'm in this crappy little house, which, by the way, not a crappy little house, like it's perfect. It's quite big. It's my parents' house. I would look out those windows and be like, there's so much more out there. While I felt the heaviness of that in the moment, like, I'm an adult now, so I can actually just go. And I want to just take this from the positive side of it, where it's like, yeah, there is so much happening right now all around the world that I don't want to say that I'm missing out on, but that I could just go to. And, you know, I am an adult now, so maybe as a 10-year-old, I wasn't able to just book a flight and go to Spain for a month, but like now, as a 28-year-old, I can just go. Like, nobody supervises you. You can just, like, go, which, like, sounds so, I know, yeah, there's things to organize, there's, you know, work to sort out and all, but if you can't do this right now, I would strongly be looking at, okay, how can I make it so that I can? If it's something that you want, I just want you to look at where you could design your life a little bit differently so that you could just bounce to another country for a month. Like, what are the things that are holding you back from that? And is there anything that could be put in place to enable you to do this? Now, I know everyone's situation is so different. So, you know, it's going to be easier for some people to apply than other people. I'll put my hands up and say, I don't have any kids. I know that's a big one. Like, everybody has their different situations. But what can you do? What's the life you want, and what can you do? Because I honestly think the majority of people put these societal walls in front of themselves, and they don't do these things that they would absolutely love nothing more than to do. And they're like, I suppose I'll do it when I retire. Honey, your life is now. You, like, we're going to get really deep here, but, like, no, there are no promises that you're going to make it to 65. Like, there aren't. That sounds really morbid, but at the same time, I think it's really important to connect to that regularly. You might not be here when you're 65 or 70, or you might be here and you might not have the health or fitness or mobility to go hiking up fucking mountains that you want to hike up right now. So, like, your life is now. Like, you only get one chance at this thing. It's not a dress rehearsal. Like, it's happening right now. This day, for me, as I'm recording this, oh, it's 4:44 p.m. just as I'm looking at the time. That's perfect. It's Saturday, the 10th of May. Yeah, I'm recording on a Saturday. Oh my God, how dare I work on a Saturday? It's the 10th of May, 2025, 4:44 p.m. And it's never gonna be that again. Kind of scary, but also kind of beautiful. So I really hope you've enjoyed this conversation. It's one that I hope has expanded your mind to think beyond of the limits that you've put on yourself. I do think, particularly because I am a productivity strategist, it is so easy to get trapped in the day-to-day, the doing, the back-to-back tasks, the, oh my God, I'm not on top of my shit, I have more things to do, I don't have enough time, and all of this. But hold on a second, like, that's always gonna happen. Like, your life is happening right now, and it's actually begging you. Your life is begging you to do something with it that you would love nothing more than to do. And it doesn't have to be something that you think other people will think is cool. Fuck that. What brings you happiness? What makes you go, oh my God, imagine I just did that? Like, what's that thing that's like, oh, I could never. And then you're like, oh no, but I actually could. Like, I'm telling you, you can. I think some of us need to do some journaling on this after this conversation. If you're a Virgo, like me, go write yourself a list of all of the things that you have told yourself you can't do. And then after writing the list, be like, oh, but what if I fucking can? And if you're not a Virgo, or if you're not a list person, then just journal on this. Like, what have you been constantly telling yourself, oh no, I could never do that. That's for other people. That's for people without jobs. That's for people, this, that, digital nomads. That's for, whatever it is. That's for younger people. That's for older people. The amount of limits we put on ourselves, which are complete and utter bullshit, is absurd. So please, that is your homework for today. And come into my DMs on Instagram at @MoreToLifeKate. Let me know how that went for you. I'd love to know if you've had any light bulb moments, either from listening to this episode or from that journaling exercise. I would love to know. I really, really would. Bring it over there. Also on Spotify, I'm not sure if you know this, but you can actually comment on the podcast on Spotify. So if that's your platform of choice, you can let me know your takeaways in there. But other than that, I'm going to love you and leave you. I hope you have a fantastic week until I chat to you the next time, and bye.
All right, gorgeous. That's a wrap on today's episode of the Get Unbusy podcast. If you got some juicy golden nuggets from this episode, I want to hear about it. So take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at @MoreToLifeKate, because your girl wants to know. And remember, you're an absolute powerhouse. You can create the life you've been dreaming of, and I can't wait to see you pop off. Chat to you soon. Bye.